Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke.
Luke, around this time each year, something magical happens. And that is television once again starts to air Home Alone.
Oh my goodness gracious. We have to be talking about the Christmas season of
The
Perpetual
Christmas
Light.
Is right. Of Perpetual Light.
I think that's what it's called, right?
Perpetual Light and booby traps from children left alone in their houses by
my
neglectful
goodness
parents.
gracious. I just thought of another episode. How did we not do speaking of booty traps?
Not booty traps, booby traps.
No, booty traps.
Oh, booty traps.
What was the name of the movie? Oh my goodness. Goonies. We have to do Goonies.
Oh, Goonies.
Goonies.
I love
Okay.
Goonies. My wife's never seen Goonies. Just
Oh
saying.
my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
How'd you
Kick
marry her?
Kick her to the curb. All right. So for anyone who hasn't, you should go
Spoiler.
YouTube some of this stuff. Really good stuff out there. But check out the video on the traps done by Pain Rankers. Pain, the word pain, and then rankers.
Is that on the
YouTube.
Nerdist? Was the website, I think?
I just saw this on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't know, but they're really annoying, like super annoying, probably even more annoying than us.
Oh,
But they actually did some of these traps, and it looked painful. Like
yeah.
burning their hands.
You saw the one
faces.
with the ballistic dummy, right? Is that the one?
Oh
Okay,
yeah. I saw that one as well. That's a different one, but that one's
Okay.
really well done. Yeah. All right, Luke. So I've yapped a bit. So how about you yap a little bit about the first trap you want to talk about?
So the first one, and we'll kind of maybe save the best for last. Maybe we'll kind of, or what we think the best is for last.
That's fair.
So the first one I have to start with is one of the more kind of, I'll say, lesser known ones because it happens so quickly.
Lesser known.
It's also one of the booty traps that
Are you saying booby or booty?
booty traps? The
B-O-O-T-Y.
the kid from Goonies, booty traps. That's what I said.
Okay.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Oh, goodness.
No one does this one. And this is when Marv is in the basement. He's coming up the steps.
I know this one. Yeah.
The steps are covered in tar. And lo and behold, our little friend drives an upside down nail through the bottom of a step. So first of all, let's talk about the what's necessary to drive a nail.
It's through a
down.
thing, isn't it? I thought it was like through a shingle or a piece of something.
Yeah, but he as an 8-year-old child, he had to drive a nail through like a piece of wood and
I didn't
place it
think
on.
that's what he did. I thought it was like through a small or something. Okay, well, we'll say it's through something.
So either way,
I guess if this is what we're getting stuck on through all of this.
Yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be a long episode, about 2 hours. So this one is, again, lesser known. So first of all, I don't know if you've ever stepped on like a small nail, let alone like a 4.5-inch galvanized.
This thing's like a spike. Yeah.
It's a spike. So first of all, I mean, Marv's foot would have been, he probably couldn't walk for the rest of the movie. And probably what would have happened is he probably would have contracted tetanus from a bacteria called Clostridium tetana. It's a bacteria that invades the body. It usually is from like a dirty like nail, or a lot of times if you're like barefoot, like in the woods, it tends to be like a poisonous kind of toxin that happens in like dirty areas. So if Marv wasn't up to date, and I don't know about you, but the wet bandits did not seem like people that stay up to date on their vaccines.
Weren't they just recently broken out of prison or something like that?
Perhaps.
Gotten out? Yeah.
Perhaps. Keep your lights on, folks. But he probably would have ended up dying eventually from tetanus, because I didn't know this. You could die from tetanus. It creates all these muscle cramps, and you get lockjaw.
I was going to say, doesn't it have joint problems?
Yeah, all kinds of joint problems. But he probably would have died probably about 6 months later from lockjaw and tetanus.
That's fair.
That's my first one.
So a few things here. I said, would it work? Yeah, I mean, it would work. But let's be very clear that if I remember correctly, there's literally one nail on this entire set of stairs that the dude's walking up. Now, I really appreciate that for some reason the tar is so sticky that he had to remove his shoes and his socks to be able to get up them. That's fine. I guess maybe that was the right decision. But one nail the dude steps on, and then like you said, like if he's able to walk, he's definitely going to be really gimping around.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. You're not
So,
chasing the kid around the house after that.
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the tripwire. How about that?
Gotcha.
So the tripwire, super basic, right? Very effective, but super basic. I think we've probably all done a tripwire. Have you done it? Yeah,
I've
you look
this,
like you've done
I've
that.
done this plenty of times to my mother, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, mom. I don't think I've ever done this to my mother, but I've definitely set them up in the woods and stuff to trip my friends, which is certainly safe. So I like this one. And what I like about it is that it's better than another trap that I just kind of refuse to talk about, which is that stupid feather trap.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Maybe I'll talk about it later, but I hate that one. But for this one, he uses like a wire, not a string, right? So that's good because it has to be strong enough to hold up against the force of the bad guys or the burglars or whatever we're calling them. I don't remember which one actually tripped on it to go over it, right? But if you remember, this thing has to be so strong that they go over it, they trip, and they do a full somersault as they go over. So they're moving with some speed.
Yep.
So not only are they moving with some speed, that means it needs to be even stronger. If you look at it, it's pretty thick. It's a pretty thick wire that he uses and then goes bing.
It looked like an extension cord kind of thickness, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so that's fine. But my question is, what about the thing that he has it tied to? What are they called? Like the spindle, is that it for the railing?
That probably would have broke.
That's what I was thinking. Like, to hit it with that much force, I feel like maybe that probably would have broken. Now, I've slipped on my steps before, like, you know, when you like step on the carpet rug and go down. I was carrying little Apollo and I slipped and I grabbed onto one of those things and
had
caught
to break,
myself. Right? No, it didn't. So that being said, now they're bigger than me, but their house also looked really expensive. So I have to assume that the craftsmanship was a little bit better than mine. So I'm going to say it could hold up. I'm going to say this would work, but really, you know, like, would this trap stop them? It might kill them. I mean, you go down those steps wrong. I fell down the steps when I was little, putting on my soccer jersey, and I broke my arm. So I feel like this really could have slowed them down, to say the least.
Little James with his broken arm and soccer jersey arm.
Yeah.
All righty. Here's my next one, James. So there's a point in the scene where Macaulay Culkin steals his brother's tarantula, or lets him out of the cage, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he uses the tarantula as like a scare tactic. If you remember, it was on Marv's face at one point in time.
I remember.
The tarantula ends up on Danny DeVito, or whatever his name is. Who was the other actor? Not Danny DeVito. Joe Pesci.
Danny DeVito was not in there. No, not at all.
It ends up on Joe Pesci's chest, and he goes to hit him with a crowbar. So you've seen a lot of like action movies where, like, you know, dudes are fighting with like bats and crowbars and they're hitting each other and blocking them. So totally fake. So first of all, a crowbar. Yeah. So first of all, crowbar weighs anywhere from like 3 to like 9 pounds, depending on if it's like a Harbor Freight version or like a real legitimate version, right?
Is Harbor Freight not legitimate?
Yeah, it's kind of like
their crowbar department.
Yeah, I'm guessing. So so when you swing something with your hand, the velocity is probably gonna be somewhere around like 30 to 40 miles an hour. So by the time that crowbar, let's say 7 pound
30
crowbar,
to 40. Wow.
Well, you got to figure like there's like the rotational force, right? Because the pivot of the arm and the velocity at the end of the crowbar is probably close to like 30 to 40 miles an hour.
Okay.
So this is going to hit you in the chest with about anywhere between like 14,000 and 18,000 kilonewtons. And just to give you an idea, that's going to break all of your ribs. It's probably going to collapse a lung. It could potentially rupture the skin and actually go into your body at that speed and with that kind of, you know, impact pressure. But here's the craziest part about this whole thing. This is totally unnecessary, James. You want to know why? Tarantula's venom is less than that of a honeybee. So while tarantulas look really kind of scary and creepy and fuzzy and big, they're actually completely harmless when it comes to humans.
Are you sure?
Absolutely positive. I Googled it right before we jumped on. And
really? See,
A
aren't we
honeybee's
led to
venom is
believe
weaker than
that-
that of a typical bee.
A honeybee's venom is weaker than
I'm
that
sorry,
of a-
a tarantula's venom is weaker
okay.
than that of a typical honeybee.
Aren't we led to believe that these things are like super deadly and they'll like kill you?
I think there's certain varieties, but a tarantula, no.
Huh. Interesting. Well, that's good to know because I have a serious tarantula problem in my house. I am no longer scared of them
You
then.
better take care of that. Yeah, so
I don't like them. They're creepy.
So number one, the tarantula is not going to kill you, so it was completely unnecessary. The crowbar, that would have been homicide, so he should be dead. There should only have been one wet bandit.
One of the
left.
wet bandits would be going back to jail, not
Yes.
only for breaking and entering and all
For
that other
homicide.
stuff, but for homicide as well.
Yeah.
Good to know. All right, before we move on with any other traps, I think we better take a break for this week's word from our sponsor.
Who do we? I have to assume this is Miramax, Sony.
It was Harbor Freight until you just went on your talk. So
They're
no
cheap crowbars.
no shout out this week, but we do
Oh.
no sponsor this week, but we do have some shout outs.
do
Number
we got?
1, Liam M. Liam says, I like to listen to your podcast with my little brother who is 9.
That's good.
So thank you, Liam.
That was the note.
That was the note. So
Wow.
Liam and Liam's brother, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
We
Thank you
do
for writing in.
We do keep it family friendly, James, and I think that's one of the things. Like when you think family friendly, you think unprofessional engineering.
I am with you all the way there, Luke. Number 2, Edwin A. Okay, so with literally 9 minutes to go before we started our recording session, I'm getting my final shout out ready. So I open up this email from Edwin.
Super excited.
Before I forget, special shout out to his pal Slava, who is also an engineering nerd.
Okay.
This email, I copy and pasted into Word. It's 2,379 words long.
So this cat's our super fan.
Yeah,
I
so
love it.
you probably haven't read that many words in like the last 8 years combined. Like
easily.
that's so much. Like
That's like
I
a
really
book.
appreciate it. This isn't a poking fun at all. This is like the level of commitment because I didn't respond because it's so big. I feel like I need to read the whole thing and give this some thought, right? So I just kind of wanted to say thank you, Edwin, to all of that good stuff. There were some corrections in there, which hurts me a little bit. There's some opinions on topics. There's more
Love
topics,
opinions.
but it was all positive. But also, here's a plug for Maker Junction in Fairfield, New Jersey, which is, and I quote, easily the best independent makerspace in the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut.
You have a little bit of a heart for makerspaces because you were kind of involved with a little bit of that stuff back in the day.
I do have a heart for makerspaces, so I appreciate him providing this shout out for Maker Junction in Fairfield, New Jersey. Maybe our NJIT, is it?
Ooh, yeah.
Folks have some connections there.
Nice.
So very cool. Anyways, Edwin, thank you for writing in. Super nice. Going to get back to you. It was just a very big email, so I need to spend some time to digest all of that. If any of you have really, really long emails you want to send me or really, really short ones, anything of the sort, go ahead and email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, review, share. And as always, you can tell your smart devices to play the Unprofessional Engineering Podcast.
All right. So you just did a good one that had some science behind it.
A little bit of science.
And I liked that. So I'm going to move to one that has a little bit of math behind it as well.
All right.
This is one of the ending traps. This is the cutting of the rope going to the tree house.
Yeah, he had the type that he kind of slid across
The
and
zip
they were
line.
pursuing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Kevin McCallister zip lines across this rope, which first off, I don't think would have worked that well.
Who's Kevin
Zip-
McCallister? You
What's
mean
his
Macaulay
name?
Culkin?
Macaulay Culkin.
Okay.
Zip lines across. And did you see him in American Horror Story? No, you don't.
I don't watch TV.
Not American Horse. Is that it? American Horror Story? Anyways, different role. Anywho, he goes across, and then Marv and Harry are going to go across the zip line.
They're
as well,
pursuing.
right? They're pursuing, and as they're partway across, or maybe one of them's partway across, Kevin decides that he's going to cut this rope. Now, sure, that's all well and good. It's a pretty thick rope that
It's
he
a
has.
really thick
Go
rope.
check it out if you don't remember it, or just wait for it to be on TV again. he uses like these old rusty hedge clippers to like manual ones to cut this rope. There's zero chance this like
Zero.
what 9-year-old or whatever he might have been could have cut this with these hedge clippers. But that's fine. Let's pretend that he could because
They're
he's
razor
like
sharp.
the Hulk. Yeah. So there's some maths that have some problem here. The grip force that would be required to hold on to this rope, and if you don't remember, the end of this is obviously comically swinging backwards and smashing into a brick wall because, you know, very Coyote and Roadrunner-esque, right? So the grip strength that they would have to hold on to that rope to make it all the way back to the wall is ridiculous. So if they weigh like 170 pounds, give or take, acceleration, and Marv was huge. He was super tall. He's more than that, but he's skinny. You know, you got gravity acting in there. We're talking like 800 newtons of grip strength on there. So suggesting like experiments suggest that human grip strength would be 500 newtons or less. And that's for like a really strong person. So you need almost double your grip strength to be able to actually hold on to this rope. So that's all well and good. Let's pretend Marv or Harry or whoever is super strong and has great grip strength. Maybe he does a lot of rock wall climbing. Then on top of that, it still has to work out that Kevin knows the right angles and the correct length of this rope to be able to have it so that it doesn't drop to the ground and fall. It actually pendulums and smashes them into the wall, which if you're coming out of like a second story window, based on the distance over to that tree, to the tree house, there's basically no way that this thing's going to have the tautness and swing through, not dragging them off the ground. So I say this one almost certainly would not work. And if it would, it certainly would debilitate them, maybe knock them out. But realistically, they probably would kind of just drop straight to the ground.
My issue with it is, why didn't they just like run down the steps and climb up the tree?
Because they just got a nail through their foot. They don't have shoes. They're covered in feathers. They have burnt heads. They're tired of this, Luke. They're tired of this very realistic scenario.
Okay, so let's get to one. I have two more big ones.
Okay.
That I think we have to get to. So this is the doorknob. This is the one that, and there's this really long, extensive video on this. I think it was on the Nerdist website. Okay. So credit to those folks for doing all the research for us, and we just had to watch a video. So
it's nice of them.
For a doorknob to glow. So in the movie, the doorknob glowed.
Like bright red or orange.
Yeah. So for that to happen, that is whenever metal is actually converting energy into light because it's so hot. And that happens, the color of the doorknob was somewhere based off of that color, because the different color is the hotter it is. So white is like the hottest. So based off of the color, it was somewhere between 1,075 degrees Fahrenheit and 1,550 degrees Fahrenheit. So just for like a frame of reference, if a human without calluses, so fresh skin, you know, no calluses, and
not like me who has very calloused, you have no manual labor hands.
No. 155 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 second will give you a 3rd degree burn.
What was
155 for 1 full second? So 1,000 is going to give you a 3rd degree burn. And that's a pretty bad burn. It's going to go almost all the way through all the layers of skin, if not all of them. So 1 second, 155 degrees. So let's talk about burns for a second.
I would love to.
A 1st degree burn is superficial. It's literally just the outer layer of the skin. Typically, it just turns red. That's it.
Is that like blister, if you like touch a hot pot or something?
Something like that. 2nd degree burn, there's partial thickness, meaning the very top layer of your skin. There's multiple layers to your skin. The epidermis. This part of the skin, actually, it might blister, but usually, again, a little bit of ice, you're pretty good. So here's where it starts to get bad. 3rd degree burns. It's the full thickness of the skin that is burned, and it actually destroys the epidermis and the dermis. So that's a 3rd degree burn.
No.
And again, keep in mind, 155 degrees for a 3rd degree burn, 1 second. So if you look at the movie, he grabs that handle for about 3 seconds because he like freezes. He's like, and he's holding the handle. So he had it on at least 3-4 seconds. A 4th degree burn is whenever the burn goes through all the layers of the skin, destroys underlying tissue, and usually involves muscle and bone damage.
Imagine being burnt so badly that you're burning your bone.
So yeah, so without a doubt, he had a 4th degree burn without a doubt. So again, this is one of those situations where he may not have died right then, but the problem with burns is most people that have severe burns, they end up dying of a related infection.
Like an infection, yeah.
So it usually kills them like down the road because they get infected in whatever, because they got to get rid of all the material that's dead, and it's a lot of surgery. It's really bad. And for that doorknob to get that hot, the door more than likely would have been on fire. Because if you think of the conduction, so the conduction through the doorknob and into the other knob to get the outside knob hot, the door would have caught on fire. So I'm totally debunking that one. And he would have burned down the house. Kids, don't do this.
That's what I said. And you probably couldn't even make an insurance claim on your kid burning down your house.
He did it on purpose.
But right, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, and even if it was able to glow like that, like you're saying, the door would start warping. There'd be smoke coming out. Oh, yeah. They would see that something's happening, but I guess they were in a hurry. So, and they proved they're not the best of the sticky bandits.
No, the wet bandits.
Wet bandits. Are they sticky bandits in the second one? Remember, he has the hand all taped up and he like stuffs it into the money.
I forget.
Maybe I don't know. Anyways, yeah, the wet bandits. All right. Before we move on, Luke, I think we need to take another break for this week's Luke's rant.
Okay, so I'm keeping this rant totally related to this movie. So what happens in this movie is Macaulay Culkin has a distrust for the police because he sees
the man
Joe Pesci dressed up as a police officer. So the whole premise of the movie is that he doesn't trust the police, and that's why instead of just calling the police, that he does all these crazy things to protect his house. So first of all, kids, if you're listening to this, you can trust the police officers. They're there to protect you and defend you, and their job is to protect you. So why he didn't just he walked to the store to go buy toothpaste and the toothbrush. Why didn't he just walk to the police station? I get if a cop knocks on your door like he was doing in the movie, maybe you don't trust him. But just walk to the police station, pick up the phone, call 911, say someone's breaking into your house. I mean, they show up at the end. Why did Macaulay Culkin trust the police at the end whenever they showed up?
Maybe he didn't want to get his parents in trouble for leaving him alone while they go on vacation. Because he's now going to get child services called. He's going to get removed from the house.
Yeah. But so kids, trust the police. If anything like this would ever happen to you, just call 911. They'll be there to pick you up and take care of you and keep you safe.
Luke, I don't know. I feel like we're going to be getting some nasty emails based off of this rant. So I appreciate having to field those. Thank you. I'm going to move on to the iron on the head trick, the oldest trick in the book.
This was major Wile E. Coyote kind of.
Oh, for sure. And it never really, when I was little, never really dawned on me that that's how much this show's just like those cartoons, So if you don't remember, Marv goes, and I think he's in the basement, and he's going to go turn on a light. And I mean, it depends on where you live, I suppose, but in old basements, they'd have those lights that have the drawstring.
I still have full string lights in my basement.
Yeah, see, there we go. And so you do that. My parents has one of those, so hopefully this never happens to them. But he goes and turns that on. But the joke's on him, Luke, because it's not actually turning a light on. What it's doing is pulling an iron through a clothing chute, down, all those floors, while he watches it happening, looking straight up at it, and it smashes him in the face. And it's all very funny.
Was the iron on? Because I remember seeing an iron mark on his face.
So it's unclear to me if the iron was on or not, but I believe it was in theory. But I think just getting smashed in the face with an iron from that height might also leave a mark on your face. But let's talk about the maths again here a little bit. Iron weighs 2 kilograms, which is what, 4.4 pounds. That's pretty heavy. We're saying it's filled with water because it was on. Yeah, it's very
small
dense.
4-pound object. Yeah.
And this house was 3 stories, and the laundry comes from the top floor. So it's dropping 3 stories down. So that's about 30 feet, give or take. The kinetic energy of the iron at impact would be almost 200 Newton meters. That's a lot. Assuming all of that energy is absorbed into the deformation of his face, as we saw, because it smashed him square in the face, right? And left that mark there. The average impact force, if it's over like that 2 millimeter-ish area, would be about that 200 divided by the 0.002, or 98,000 newtons. And that's really high. It could even be higher though. So it's still really high. So these numbers sound a little wonky, right? But not really. Think about this. A boxer like me, in great physical condition. Can punch. That felt like a little sarcastic. That can punch with 5,000 newtons of force. And that's just a boxer standing next to you, not moving, winding up and smashing you in the face, right? So this thing's falling 30 feet, made out of iron, and smashes you in the face. Well, I guess it's made out of metal, not iron, but you get what I'm saying. And smashes them in. So would this work? Yes. Would it stop him? Yes, because it would almost certainly kill Marv right on the spot.
Well, the other thing too is if you look at the picture, the iron fell flat on his face.
Yeah.
I imagine if the point of the iron hit him,
goodness.
it probably would have split his skull open and
for sure
like went into his head, I imagine.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way it hit, you'd think his nose would get smashed right into his brain. Is that going too far?
No.
One other thing though, dude sitting there watching it the whole way down. You're telling me that this iron fell 3 stories without clanking off the side of the chute? I don't know.
So the whole premise of a lot of these things is Macaulay Culkin had some amazing measurement skills, because to position these booby traps in all the places that they needed to be to, make contact exactly the way they made contact, I think is pretty crazy. So, so how much time we got left, James? Do we just want to do the big one? We just want to talk about the last big one? Or do you want to do a short one?
Let's do the big one. We'll give a couple shout outs to a few others in there, and then we can maybe rank our favorites.
Okay.
So go ahead and do the biggie.
So here's the big one. So the one that everybody knows, and this is the paint can to the face.
Paint can to the face.
So first of all, he puts all the little cars at the bottom of the steps to aggravate them. That I don't consider that, because you see them, you step around them, you kick them out of the way. That's an easy one. So they start coming up the steps to chase him. The banister up above, he has a paint can, which weighs about 13 pounds if it's full of paint. I don't think these ones were full. He ties a string around it and he throws it off, and it swings down. What makes you
say you don't think that they were full?
I don't see a.
You just have a sneaking suspicion.
Well, have you ever just carried around a paint can? I mean, this is like an 8-year-old kid wheeling 13 pounds like it's nothing.
Okay.
So what they should have done was actually fill it up with paint in the movie, so that Macaulay Culkin would struggle with the paint can to get it on the banister and lift it and throw it. But he was just
would have made this more realistic.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go.
So a couple things here. First of all, that string, I don't know how he measured the string on the banister down to the handle of the paint can, because number one, I mean, he had to hang it, and he'd have to go down and stand there, and he'd have to figure out the length of the string so that it would come in contact with the face. Also, the average width of a set of staircases is about 3.5 feet. So you also have the side to side measurement you need to think of. So now, not only do you have to get that exactly where they're coming up the steps, you got to make sure the length of the string is perfect, and you got to time it so that when they're coming up, that if they're past it, then it's going to hit them in the chest, because they'll be higher. If they're too soon, it'll just go over their head and they'll miss it. So there's so many variables with this one.
So many.
I think this one definitely would not have happened. But let's say it did happen. Everything was perfect and the timing was right. Paint can's 13 pounds. It's moving roughly 20 miles per hour. And this is all based off of that video that we were talking about. So kudos to those cats. Your head is going to snap back at about 266 G's. So it's not going to decapitate you. It's not going to like do that. But more than likely, it's going to take your vertebrae based off of where it hit him in the face. And it's going to shift that at least like an inch and a half. So it's probably going to sever your spinal cord at the neck. You probably won't die, but you would definitely be paralyzed for the rest of your life.
You wouldn't be chasing Kevin around.
No. And you'd probably have major like cognitive issues because there's definitely going to be some brain damage. There's definitely going to be, your face is going to be destroyed.
This is not funny. And
no,
people should not do this.
They should not do this. So this is probably the most lethal if he could get all the calculations and timing and lengths and side. This is the most lethal for sure. And I think it probably would kill you, if not paralyze you for the rest of your life.
So I mentioned those pain rankers that made a video on this. They did this and they actually got smashed in the face with it, but they were going.
Hold on, they let it happen to themselves?
Yeah, but that's their whole shtick, I guess.
Okay.
But they'd only go up like 5 steps and be like, okay, let's try it from there. And they'd get smacked from like 5 steps up, and the paint can would be all dented up. Like now you're talking a whole flight of stairs that this sucker would be.
No, were the paint cans full that they were doing in their videos?
I don't know if they were full.
They couldn't have been. I would have killed them.
From 5 steps, that's only like, I don't know. But anyways, it was significant. Go watch those videos, get them some views, some dollars and all that. All right. So a couple others I wanted to give a shout out to. There's the frozen water on the steps.
That one
totally
I think is another bad one too, because have you ever fallen on a set of concrete steps?
And you go down them, down the
goodness.
Oh yeah, that would hurt.
That's a bad one. I mean, you could definitely herniate a disc. You could definitely break an arm, break a leg, not be able to.
You could do that one. Yeah, though. It's realistic. Yeah, the blowtorch to the head. Luke mentioned 1st, 2nd, 3rd degree burns, 4th degree. This might be a 5th degree burn. I don't know.
That type of blowtorch is about 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, for the record.
I feel like it's doable again. If you look at it, it's looped over the door of a kitchen cabinet. So it's held up there. It's tied to the string. I can see it working. I mean, Harry probably wouldn't stood under it.
Because as soon as you hear it, you just duck.
Also, let's be fair. We're lucky that it was Harry, because just the top of his head and the hat got burned off. If it was Marv, it would have melted his face right off.
Like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. I mentioned the glue and the feathers, which was so stupid. Like, what's that even do? Like, it slowed me down for 4 seconds. Like, that's stupid. And then there's a few others. There's the micro machines being stepped on. I think we've all probably done that.
Mm-hmm.
There's the old BB gun through the pet door, which is unfortunate, but not even really a trap.
Yeah, shot him right in the private area.
That is where he shot him, yes. And then the Christmas ornaments being stepped on. Now that would slow you down and hurt a little bit. But
tetanus, disease, infection weeks later.
Yeah. So I ranked these. Did you rank them, Luke?
I mean, I kind of have mine, and I can rank mine. What are yours?
I go worst to best. Like worst, most painful and bad. I say paint can to the face. I say I don't count tarantula or crowbar because I figure that's like not really a trap. Paint can to the face, iron to the face, torch to the head, cut the zip line, the barbecue hand, the tar and nail, tripwire, icy steps, BB gun, ornaments, micro machines, glue, and feathers.
So I'm totally with you, except I am going to move the iron, the burn hand. Uh-huh. That's going to be my number 2, because have you ever had a bad? I mean, I don't think you could. I mean, you'd go into shock, I think, with a burn.
His hand's like gone.
Yeah, I don't think you could do anything after after a burn that bad. Like, you wouldn't be able to function. The pain would be so excruciating.
Fair enough. Well, I think on that note, Luke, hopefully everybody's learned a lot about Home Alone. And while they're watching it over this holiday season, they can really enjoy all of the traps, the math behind them, and just how realistic this movie is, and appreciate it that way. So if any of you want to tell us about what your favorite Home Alone trap is, if you've ever set up one of these and laughed as you've nearly decapitated someone, or anything of the sort, why don't you just go ahead and email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. And until next time.
See ya.